Julieta, you did, with Laurence, you did a photojournalism workshop, which I think the title was a little bit misleading because you guys were talking about, of course you were talking about photojournalism, but you were also talking about these all other layers that also go into photojournalism, because usually when we talk about photojournalism or journalism, it's kind of like the work that's being created and then the result and everything in between people don't realize happens, which is also kind of how to formulate a story if it's not breaking news kind of a situation, how to pitch that, how to work with photo editors, how to work with publications, how to kind of, you know, present and package the whole thing and work towards an end that's presentable. And there's like so many other people that come into play right here. It's not just the photographer and their work, it's just layers and layers. Can you kind of also give a wrap up of those layers that you talked about or discussed during the workshop?
Yeah, we talked that during the workshop it was important to say that it's not only about the news itself. It's not about what is happening and when and what and how and when, but it's also about all the stories that are around it. And what is important is to have a look at them and decide if to include in the story itself that you're going to pitch to our site different publications, so newspaper, magazines, media outlets, international ones. And what it was important was to discuss with the local photographers and the local journalists how to build layered stories that could be explicative or evocative of the situation to the international media. So to discuss how we could tell a story, not just to give response or give answers, but to ask the right questions to an international audience. So how to pitch it and meaning how to present to different titles, how to be sure of our stories, how to be unsure. And it was a collaborative moment because it was different people and different journalists from different media outlets. And the important has been to put everybody on the same table and to share the experience and to share the visions of that. And our aim in the workshop was exactly that. It's not only to tell one side of the stories, it's to tell the common side of the stories. So yeah, we try to evoke the need and we try to evoke the right questions and to share our experience as photo editors and editors from our different positions.
Because a lot of the time here, what I get as an editor at EVN is if it's any kind of a visual story, it's already a prepared story and they've done it on their own. They just like, here it is, do you want it or you don't want it? And a lot of the time where the problem with that is that, yes, I would like to have had the story done by you, but not this one that you're presenting. So this whole need of, let's see what else you have, let's see if we can reassemble this story, retell it. But with photography especially, it's not like text. You cannot rewrite. Once the photo's done, when it's taken, so there, it's very limited. So I do feel like the pitches we get, the lack of that understanding that maybe let's discuss this with the editor first, and maybe let's have this collaborating brainstorming as what the message should be. And it's not just like, let me randomly show up and take the photos and then put them together in a series and present. So it's a lot of the time why we say no is exactly this. It's incomplete, it's maybe sometimes sloppy, and there's no room for much editing. Or is there room for much editing? This is something I'm asking for myself because
it's always about a matter of relationship. So it's a matter of trust between the editor and the photographers. So the photographers need to trust the editor and the editor the photographers. But what you're saying is right. It's always about, if I pitch something to you, in a moment when it's closed and it's done, it's finished, the chance are very reduced to you to make your story as well for your own media. And that's exactly one point that we wanted to highlight. So creating a relationship, creating a community, creating a moment of trust between the two, between the three, between the four, it's fundamental to build the right story. And you're right, if the story is done as a package, the chance is very little.
Yes.
Because again, it's not only one side. The story is not one. You have many different ways of.
Also, there's this other side. I sometimes, if you're too, as an editor, if you're too involved in the story, are you becoming almost like a co-author, or like adding this additional layer to it? So when is, if you don't have that trust, that history with the photographer of working and knowing that this is a collaborative thing, because a lot of the time that's one thing that we need also to consider in Armenia. A lot of the time it's not a collaborative thing. A photo story is usually not a collaborative thing in Armenia, at least, or in our culture. So when is it too much as to how hard you can work on a story with the photographer, where you're hijacking actually their vision?
It's not, yeah, it could be, that's the danger. It's actually a real danger, because sometimes the situation, it brings to a fastness, so you have to work fast. And we always say that at the moment that you give your edit, it's not yours anymore, because it then is the editors and the publication stuff. So that's a danger, but it's again is a matter of trust. And the good editor is the one who sit down and think and talk with the photographers or with the journalists to build the right stories. But then it's different when you're on assignment or when you deliver a story that is done. When you're on assignment, you have this moment. And when you deliver the story, that's the role of the good editor and photo editor, to take the time.
So, and one more question. Again, I'm so good taking advantage of the situation here and asking what I want to know. Photo editors also, a lot of time, you work with archives.
Yeah.
And I also have had this experiences where here the photographer is not involved anymore, and you're building the story based on the archive. So, so how does this work, and is it much different? Because, for example, you work at Magnum Paris, and when I was much younger and very into photography, Magnum Photos had on their website this daily selection.
We call it distro,
yeah.
Distribution.
So every morning I would just check your email, check your social media, check Magnum Photos, see the photos, and then go on with the day. I had this routine for a while, until they changed the website, and then I couldn't get into it, but yes. Working with presenting work that's already been done and has already been archived. So how much freedom do you allow yourself when the photographer is not there to say, you know what, no, stop?
Not much. I mean, there is two layers of the archival vision. So there's the historical thing. So when an event, you have to tell what happened. But then, from the Magnum Photo side, it's always about being sincere of the photographer point of view, which is not the truth, is an individual vision. And it's admitting that, respecting that, but also protecting that. So we have a look at the archive, but always taking in consideration who was the photographer, why he was there, and what was his edit. And if his edit is not there, we take much more time before putting out that story, because we have one of the most interesting archival images of the story of the world, but it's individual visions. So it's not only witnessing what's happening, it's really what the photographer sees.
So it's interesting. This is basically what I'm thinking about. When the photographer is there and you're working with them, let's say on assignment, you have so much more freedom to almost affect the vision. And we, editors, more considerate of what the photographer's vision is once the photographer is not there. So we're basically almost also kind of projecting a vision onto them and following that, because we cannot check for sure that that's exactly what they're thinking or what they're doing. But so we project this vision onto them, while if we're collaborating with the photographer on the spot, we impact the vision. It's kind of, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a delicate
it's a lot
level
to put together sometimes. Anyway, thank you, and usually never it's conclusive, any interview, so let's continue talking.
Yeah, we will, we need it. Thank you.